Hey, good morning. Michael Didier here. I'm glad you're here. We're going through Torah, the way that leads to life. Oh, how I love the Torah. You know, if you don't know Torah, your life is nothing more than existence, really. Torah is the life. We talked in past weeks about The Walking Dead. You know what? I think in the New Testament, when Yeshua said, let the dead bury the dead, that's exactly what he was talking about. These people who are walking the earth right now are dead people. They've not experienced the new life that is found in the Torah. We're going to find it as we go through the scriptures, verse by verse, even word by word sometimes. Well, it's an exciting journey that we're on, and I'm glad you're here. Last week, we finished Genesis 7. Let's go there. Noah was beginning to fill the ark. Remember, it says you and your in my New King James. Probably in many of your versions it says your, but this happens to be one of those cases where it is thee and thy and thou. Then Yehovah said to Noah, come into the ark, thou and all thy household, because I have seen that thou art righteous before me in this generation. Who's the righteous one? The wife? The kids? Their spouses? Their women? Their nashim? No, Noah is the righteous Ish. Then he talked about 7 clean animals. Bring 7 clean animals, and to each of the unclean animals. Well, to each of the unclean animals, most of our understandings, and this is how we taught it in Sunday school, we had 2 cows, 2 elephants, 2 zebras. But we're not talking about 2, we're talking about 4. But we're only counting the males. And that becomes very clear when we talk about 7 each of the clean animals, doesn't it? Isn't it interesting that Yehovah even does the same thing with the animals that he does with the people? The men and their women? We're going to see it again today. The women of the men, the men's bone and flesh is rarely counted. This is important. You may think I harp on this every week, but it's because we are so entrenched in our own bad thinking, our own stinking thinking, that I have to go over this again and again and again. And I know, and I apologize for you who are in my class week after week after week. Some of you have been in my class. This is the 2nd time through Torah. Helen and Larry are a good example of that. And many others have been with me for a long time. You understand. But you know what? Sometimes I get new people that come. And if they're not in the class, they're listening online. And so I want to reiterate this understanding of the difference between a male and his female over and over and over again. So please bear with me. At the very least, you're going to be able to teach this to your friends. I repeat myself a lot. I know I do. But it's for a purpose. It's so that we learn it and we can teach it to others. Well, let's continue. I had some other things that I had marked to remember in this chapter. Here's another one. It was in the 600th year of Noah's life in the second month, the 17th day of the month. You know what? When you see dates, second month, 17th day of the month, ask yourself always, does that have anything to do with Yehovah's calendar? Understand how they fit into Yehovah's calendar. So those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as Elohim had commanded them, and Yehovah shut him in. Isn't that kind of Yehovah to shut the door of the ark? And all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds, cattle, and the living, creeping things that creep on the earth, and all the Adam. Look, this is exactly what I was just talking about. Where is the woman? But it doesn't say anything about the women. It talks about the birds. It talks about the behemoth. It talks about the creeping things. And all the Adam. Where are the women? We're going to see this everywhere in Torah. We're going to see it. Like I said, we're going to see it again today. We must understand that a woman alone needs a covering. Without her covering, without the man who is bone of her bone, flesh of her flesh. Now, keep in mind, a woman can have a covering that is servant related. Doesn't mean you have to be intimate, but you've got to have a man in your lives, ladies, that you're learning to serve, that you're learning to lay down your life for. Essential. It's as essential as a man leaving the kingdom of his birth, joining himself to Yehovah and his kingdom, or he's nothing. Remember, we all have to do what we were created to do. The man was created to serve Yehovah. The woman was created to serve her man. No man not serving Yehovah. You're both in trouble. Well, let's begin Genesis 8. Father, please give us eyes that see, hearts that understand. Clear our minds, clear our emotions, and allow us to see the things from your word that you have for us. Ooh, we're so quick to read over these things and we miss such wonderful bits and pieces of your words. Father, I know that you choose your words very, very carefully. Help us to see and understand today. We love you so much. Genesis 8 starts like this. Then Elohim remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him in the ark. You know, I just noticed this just before the class came on. Living thing. Here they got it right. Every other place they talk about the living thing. The kayi. Here's the word. This is K. Kayi. Kayi. Ha-kayi. In this case, ha-kayi. The living things. They put every living thing. Well, it's the living things and all the animals. Isn't it interesting? They're not talking about the birds. The birds would be included in what? The living things. The creeping things would be included in what? The living things. He remembered Noah. Would his sons and their wives, their women, and Noah's woman be included among the living things? I think Noah's women would be included among him. But where are the sons? And Elohim made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. Remember last week we were reading in Yasher that Noah and his sons and their wives, their women, and all the animals, every living thing that was in the ark, including the animals, were tossed around like porridge in a cauldron. Ooh, it went on for a long time. Remember, I think, well, we're going to see it. Let's keep this in mind. The waters were rising for how long? Remember, I talked about the waters prevailing on the earth. Prevailing, what does that mean? It means that the water is going up. If the earth is prevailing, it means the water's going down. But this is the waters prevailing on the earth. The waters are rising. How long did they rise? We're going to talk about that now. Let's take a look. Verse 2. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were all stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And all the waters receded continually from the earth. And at the end of 150 days, 150 days, 5 months, at the end of 150 days, the waters started to decrease. But I have to go back to my note. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rains of heaven were just restrained. You know what? I got interested in what does it take to cover the earth with water? The highest mountain is 5.5 miles high. And so I was looking at I'm not exactly even sure how I calculated this. I put percentage increase to cover the mountains is only 0.01375. So I must have compared it with the atmosphere, is all I can figure. When Yehovah divided the waters above the heavens from the waters below did he do it 50-50? 30-70? Remember, at creation, it said that Yehovah separated the waters from the waters and put the heaven in between, the heavens. The heavens is where the birds fly. But when he separated the waters from the waters, what percentage did he do it in? We don't know, do we? Was there a lot of water up there? It would have been frozen. We had a completely different atmosphere in those days. I think that's why when we got the rainbow, it was a new thing. We hadn't seen a rainbow before. The sunshine wasn't able to get through to the clouds. Did we even have clouds? Perhaps not. Here it is. This is Genesis 1, 6-8. Let me slide it up here. Then Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. There's the heavens, the firmament. And let it divide the waters from the waters. Thus Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And Elohim called the firmament heaven. There it is, our heavens. So the evening and the morning were the second day. Did they have rain? I don't know. It sounds to me like that the earth was watered from the ground. Well, there's lots of things that are going to be different from one world to the next. I wonder what kind of differences we're going to see from this world to the millennial kingdom. Do you think there'll be some differences in the environment like there was? I mean, we're talking some pretty significant differences between the antediluvian world and this one. Well, so 150 days and the waters began to decrease. That is approximately 5 months. So 5 months from second month would bring us to the 7th month, when the waters start to go down. You know what? What am I thinking? That's Sukkot, isn't it? When the waters begin to decrease. I erroneously said that we came out of the ark, and I apologize. You know what? I'm not perfect. Please forgive me. I may sound a bit arrogant at times, and I know more than a lot of people do, but I make mistakes. I make mistakes regularly, and I hear them sometimes when I'm going through this. But I said that we came out of the ark in the 7th month, 27th day. And we did not. We came out of the ark in the 2nd month, 27th day. A year and 10 days. I did say a year and 10 days. But here we are, the 7th month, 7th day. The ark rested. Well, here, let's just go to the next verse. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, 17th day of the month. So there's where my 17th day of the month came from. The waters went down. We were up in the waters, and we rested back on the earth in the 7th month, 17th day. That's where I got my 17th day. Now, 7th month, 17th day. Again, we have to ask ourselves, that's Sukkot. So we were, in a sense, being carried from Passover, second Passover, until Sukkot. You know, I think these feasts of Yehovah are going to play a significant role in these last days. I just said we were carried on the ark in the water, over the waters. Everybody else was killed by the waters, weren't they? But we were carried on the waters in the ark, in something that was covered inside and out with pitch. Covered with pitch. Protected. We came down to the earth in Sukkot. In these last days, it appears to me that the tribulation is going to begin probably on a Passover. Second Passover, first Passover, I don't know for sure. But I think it's going to begin on a Passover. The first great shaking of the earth is going to start during a Passover. Could it be the 17th day? Could it be the 6th day of Passover? To maybe make the idea that I was saying earlier. But 3.5 years later, remember, he's going to carry us through the wilderness. He's going to provide for protection, provision, and instruction in righteousness in the wilderness using his 144,000 men. And it's going to be during the fall feasts that he's going to decide who is going to go into the millennial kingdom alive, and who's going to perish. It's probably going to happen on the Day of Atonement, the Day of Coverings. Let's use coverings because we're talking about kafaring the ark. We're going to be covered. Some are going to die. Some are going to go ahead and live. I think those are the men that are going to live and go on into the millennial kingdom. And that's, again, another reason why I think it's more than the 144,000. The 144,000 are already redeemed. They're already separated. I think they're already counted among those who are going in. But that day of covering, that last day of covering, 3.5 years later, is going to be the time where Yehovah searches the hearts of his men and decides who's going to go in and who's not. And think about this. If the ark rested, did it rest perfectly horizontal? If it didn't, I mean, think about this. This is 5 months that the ark now is going to rest. If it doesn't rest perfectly flat, it means that we're going to be walking uphill or sideways for another 7 months. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine how hard that would be? Think about the caca. If we were putting it out the moon pole, where are we going to do it? Where are we going to do with it now? Is it going to stay in the ark with us down in the lowest possible corner? Can you imagine the smell that we're going to have for 7+ months? Sleeping. How do you sleep? You'd have to sleep in a hammock to get any peace at all. Yeah, Carrie's holding his nose. Can you imagine the stink? Oh my goodness. Does this sound like a fun experience these folks went through? I don't think we really even think about it. How many animals was there? 14 of the clean kind? 4 of the unclean kinds? How many kinds was there? There's a lot of animals in this ark. Wow. That's why Yehovah or Manoah is saying, deliver us! Help us! Let us out of this prison! Remember, we saw that last week. 5. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the top of the mountains were seen. So now we can finally see the mountains. We're resting, but we can only see the mountains. This is the 10th month, first day of the month. This is 222 days later since the flood began. The waters began. The rain began. 7.5 months. We can finally see the top of the mountains. So we rested, but we still couldn't see the mountain, apparently. We're still not going to leave the ark for another 5+ months. So it came to pass at the end of 40 days. So now here's another 40 days. This is going to bring us to the 10th day of the 11th month. 7 days shy of 9 months since the flood began. And Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. He sent a raven, which kept going to and fro until the water had dried up on the earth. It sounds like the raven didn't come back. He sent out a raven which kept going to and fro until the waters had dried up on the earth. I guess it's just unclear. And he also sent out from himself a dove to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot, and she returned into the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her and drew her into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days, still in the 9th month apparently, and the dove came to him in the evening, and behold, a freshly plucked olive tree was in her mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. Well, they certainly were more receded from the earth. So he waited yet another 7 days, and sent out the dove, which did not return again to him any more. And here it is. Slide this up. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and indeed the surface of the ground was dry. I want to show you just real quickly. This is my Google Earth. Here's the promised land. You recognize that, Damascus, Jerusalem. There's Beirut. I want to glance up a bit more, and we're going to go over to this area right here. And we're going to go, where is it? There it is, right, this area right here. And we're going to go to this area right over here. This is Armenia. And this is where the ark landed. And this is according to Ron Wyatt. But look what happens when you go in really close on this. A little bit closer. There's the ark. Isn't that cool? This is Google Earth. Took me a while to find it. You've got to have the exact coordinates. But you can find them if you look online. I can give them to you if you're interested. But I think it's interesting to see how, I mean, you can kind of see how this thing is nestled in the mountains. Can you see the, let me do this. According to this, it rested pretty doggone level, didn't it? Or at least it appears that way to me. Anyway, thought you might be interested in seeing that. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dried, and Elohim spoke to Noah. Who did he speak with? Okay, always keep in mind, who does Yehovah talk with? Has he talked to Naaman once? Has he talked to the ladies at all? The answer is no. It doesn't appear to me that he's even talked to the sons yet, but he's going to today. Listen what he says. Then Elohim spoke to Noah, saying, go out of the ark, thou and thy woman, and thy sons, and thy sons' women with thee. Bring out with thee every living thing. Okay, that's the big picture of all flesh that is with you. Now here's the little picture. The birds, the cattle, the behemoth, the 4-legged animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. Living thing. You know, this is one time where they actually got it right. They said living thing, and they got it right in verse 1 also. All the other places that we've seen living thing, hakayi or kayi, they translate as beasts. And it confuses us because we're putting cattle here instead of four-footed animals, behema. Remember, there's only 4 kinds of animals. Animals are 4 kinds of living things. Animals, we know it from chapter 11 when we get instructions on what we can eat and what we can't eat. We have things that we can eat from the animals, things we can eat from the birds, things we can eat from the creeping things, the bug kind, and the fish. There's 4 things. 3 of the 4 things were destroyed except for the ones that were with us in the ark. I say us. The spiritual men. Noah in the ark. It says, bring out with you every living thing of all flesh that is with you, the birds, the animals, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth and be fruitful and multiply. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed the order. When they went into the ark, it was Noah, his sons, Noah's wife, and his wives. Now they're coming out. Noah, his woman, I put you, thou, thy woman, thy sons' women, the birds, the behemoth, the bugs. So Noah went out, and his sons. Now they got it in a different order. And his woman, and his sons' women. They switched again. I put with respect to order, I think what Yehovah does most often is he talks about the men, then he talks about the women. Men are always going to lead. Remember, it's always male and female, male and his female, man and his Isha, Ish and his Isha. Every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, whatever creeps on the earth, according to their families, went out of the ark. Then Noah built an altar to Yehovah and took of every clean animal and every clean bird and offered, look what they put, burnt offerings on the altar. Well, it's kind of what they're doing, but let's be clear in what Torah is actually saying. Noah built an altar. Isn't that interesting? Did Yehovah tell Noah to build an altar? Noah is a righteous man. Do you think this is the first altar Noah was ever built? I'm guessing not. I'm guessing he's done this many times. I'm guessing that Canaan and Enoch and Methuselah also built altars at times and offered burnt offerings. But let's look at this word burnt offerings, because the word that we're talking about here is olah Allah. Olah Allah. It's raised, a rising. Allah, here's Allah. Ascend. Here's the olah. Steps, ascending. Smoke. This is the sweet aroma that is going up to Yehovah. And I think it's so neat that Noah understands what are clean animals and what are unclean animals. Because you know what? We're not going to put unclean animals on the altar to Yehovah. We're going to use animals that are clean from the birds and from the behemoth on the altar to Yehovah. This is exactly what we're going to see in Leviticus 1 when we learn about the Olah, the rising korban, offering. There is no word offering. The word is korban. It's a korban. We bring a korban. It's about drawing near to Yehovah. So this thing that gets translated as burnt offering is really the rising, the thing that is put in to raise up to Yehovah, that sweet aroma to him. This is the first time the Olah is mentioned. Remember, I said, in fact, I said it here too. I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. I said, can we build an altar? Can we build an altar? I think we can. You know what? I haven't. I don't really have a place to build an altar. But when we get to Exodus chapter 20, Yehovah, after he gives us the 10 commandments, he commands us to build an altar of stone or an altar of dirt, and to offer our shalomim. We have yet to learn what the shalomim is. It gets translated as peace offering, but the shalomim is the food that we eat, and to offer or to bring our olah, our rising offering, our rising korban, the sweet aroma to Yehovah. So here I put the first of the korban. Remember, that's the drawing near. That's the thing that gets translated as offering so often. It's about drawing near, or offerings mentioned in Leviticus is the olah, or elevation korban, also known as the whole burnt offering. This offering is a blood offering of the herd, the cattle, the flocks, the fowl. So I'm guessing that he says every clean animal, that he's talking about flocks, sheep, and goats, and we're also talking about cattle. Now, did he do antelope? I don't know. Did he do an antelope? He might have. But typically, that's not one of the things that we're going to use on the altar. The goats, are the animals that he uses, are going to have everything but the hides. So the hides are not going to be burnt up. We're going to save those. And when we use, for the birds, the crops and the gizzards are going to be left out. Otherwise, the whole animal is consumed on the altar. Rising. A rising of smoke from a burnt offering. Here, there's a few places where he talks about the olah, and you shall burn, no, this is 29 of Exodus, and you shall burn the whole ram on the altar. It is a burnt korban to Yehovah. It is a sweet aroma, an offering made by fire to Yehovah. Look at how many times he talks about this sweet aroma. You know what? I think it's a shame that we are so turned off when we talk about sacrifices. Isn't that what we do? We talk about sacrifices. We don't have to do sacrifices, don't you know? Well, there is no word for sacrifice. If you're talking about burnt offerings, is that a sacrifice? Does Yehovah call that a sacrifice? Is it a sacrifice to me? It's a sweet aroma to Yehovah. But we call it bitter, don't we? Well, look at this. This is Isaiah 5, verse 20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. You know what? This last part, bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. This is what the Christian church has done. And maybe what Judaism has done as well. Yehovah says that the Olah offering is a sweet aroma. But we say, many of us, that we don't have to do that anymore and that it's a bad thing. But Yehovah says it's a sweet aroma to his nostrils. I put, does this offend us because we don't have a temple? Well, look what it says in Ezekiel 11. I put, we currently have no land, no temple, no tabernacle, no priesthood. Yet Yehovah says, although I have cast them far off among the Gentiles. Remember, Israel went and served other Elohim besides Yehovah. And he cast us out of our presence, just like a man has to get rid of a woman who will not serve only him. She can't stay. She's got to go. Well, so did we get cast out. But look what he says. Although I have cast them far off among the Gentiles, and although I have scattered them among the countries, he says, yet I shall be a little sanctuary for them in the countries where they have gone. Well, I want to go to this verse. This is Exodus 20. Since I had a note for it, I wanted to actually show you this verse. Here he's talking about building an altar. And I want to read it to you in my translation because the translation is perverted in this. Again, you know what? People don't want you to do offerings, to bring korban to Yehovah. Yet this is the same chapter that has, I am Yehovah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. You shall have no other Elohim existing before my face. This is the Ten Commandments chapter. And at the end of it, he says, an altar of earth thou shalt make to me. He says, thou shalt slaughter. See, this is singular. I don't know why I put you. This is singular. Second person. Thou shalt make to me, and thou shalt slaughter on it your olah, your rising, your ascending, and thy shalamim. That's the meat that we're going to eat. We're going to put the blood on the altar. We can burn the fat on the altar. Yeah, I don't know if we'll burn the fat on the altar, but we can put the blood on the altar. Your flocks, your cattle. He says, in all the places my name shall be remembered. We are remembering Yehovah's name when we build these altars and do our olah and our shalamim. He says, in all the places my name shall be remembered, I will come to thee and bless thee, and I will make, and if you make, let's just stop it there because now he's going to talk about the stone. This is the altar of earth. But here's the point. In all the places my name shall be remembered, I will come to thee and bless thee. Bless thee. But the world says, if you do the shalamim, if you do the olah, you're going to be cursed. But he says you're going to be blessed. So which is it? Well, Noah A righteous Ish made, it's the first thing he did. Came off the ark and remembered Yehovah. Pretty interesting, don't you think? Give him the glory. You think the first thing we'll do when we come into the millennial kingdom, build an altar? I think it's exactly what we're going to do in each one of our locations, because I think we're still going to be scattered throughout the earth in those days. We'll see. Let's go back. We must be at 8:20 here. Bitter for sweet. Yes, don't put bitter for sweet. I'm going to go back to the top here. 21. And Yehovah smelled a soothing aroma. There it is. The sweet, the soothing aroma. Then Yehovah said in his heart, I will never curse the ground for the man's sake. Although the imagination of the man's heart is evil from his youth. He's not talking about the ladies. This is Ha-Adam. There are no lady Ha-Adam. You know what? If you're new to Torah, that may sound hard. Remember what he said, Ezekiel or Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14? Let's hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yehovah and keep his commandments, for this is the man's all. The man's all. He's talking to the men. We're going to see it at the beginning of this next chapter. He's going to talk to Noah and his sons. We'll get there in just a moment. Savor. Here's the savor. Reak. Here's the sweet. Nikoak. Nikoak. Restful, pleasant, delight, a sweet aroma. He says he will never send a flood again. And he smelled a sweet aroma. And Yehovah said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake. That's where I want to do this. Now let me see these notes. I haven't really checked these notes. But he will never send a flood again. But he's going to send fire this next time. Imagination. Here's the imagination. A soothing aroma for the imagination. Although the imagination of Ha-Adam's heart is evil from his youth. His nature, his inclination is what this imagination is all about. We have the same Yetzer hearts. There's the word Yetzer, Yetzer. We have the same Yetzer hearts. Right now, this is our inclination, men. We have to fight that flesh that tends to lean that direction and bring it into submission, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Bring that flesh into submission. Here's Genesis 3:17. He says, Then Adam said, Because you have heeded the voice of your woman and have eaten from the tree which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of it, cursed is the ground for your sake. He's not going to curse the ground any longer. Remember, in the antediluvian world, the ground got cursed so many times that towards the end, they couldn't get anything to grow. Yehovah's not going to curse the ground anymore. Boy, Carrie and I saw a good example of the ground not being cursed this week when we picked some cherries from one cherry tree. Oh my gosh, you can't believe how many pounds of cherries we picked from this tree. And Carrie has picked even more beyond that.
They're like grapes.
He says they're like grapes. That's what they are. They were like clusters of grapes. They were so prolific. Well, Yehovah is not cursing the ground anymore. I will never again curse the ground. The ground was cursed. Here, look what it said about Lamech. Let me move this up a little bit. This says, Lamech lived 182 years and had a son. He called his name Noah. This is just before the end of the antediluvian world. Well, 500 years before. I guess that's pretty much just before. This will comfort us concerning the work and the toil of our hands because of the ground which Yehovah has cursed. So when he's saying he's not going to curse the ground for Ha-Adam's sake, even though his imagination is evil from his youth, he's talking about not doing this anymore. That's going to change. Next verse. Last verse in 8. Well, the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. Well, day and night, winter and summer. Are there exceptions to this rule? I can think of one. That was the day that the sun stood still when Joshua was fighting. Who was he fighting? It must have been the Philistines. So the sun stood still and the moon stopped till the people had revenge on their enemies. This is not written in the book of Yashar? Yeah, it is written in the book of Yashar. We're going to read it right now. So the sun stood still in the midst of the heavens. It did not go down for about a whole day, 23 and a half hours. And there has been no day like that before or after it, that Yehovah heeded to the voice of Anish. There's the Ish. For Yehovah fought for Israel. So now here it is in Yashar. Yeah, I got some other examples too, beyond just this. Remember, he said, day and night, the earth shall remain seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter, summer, day and night shall not cease. Well, here it is in Yashar. And Yehovah hearkened to the voice of Joshua, and the sun stood still in the midst of the heavens, and it stood still 36 moments. And the moon also stood still, and hastened not to go down for a whole day. And there was no day like that before or after that Yehovah hearkened to the voice of Anish. For Yehovah fought for Israel. Here is 3 days of darkness. So Moses stretched out his hand towards heaven, and there was the thick darkness in the land of Egypt for 3 days. So here, Egypt had darkness for 3 days, didn't have any light. And in the last days, Revelation talks about the fifth angel pouring out his bowl on the throne of the beast. Really, sounds like the whole world. And his kingdom became full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues because of the pain. Well, I think we're going to see darkness again. Just like Moses had darkness, I think we're going to see darkness again. We'll see what happens. So, chapter 9, 12:09. So Elohim blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Who's he talking to? He's talking to Noah and his sons this time. I wonder, let me just check something. No, it is Noah and his sons. Sometimes it's seed. You got to kind of keep your eyes open to be able to see the truth of this. So Elohim blessed Noah and his sons. Noah's women? Noah's sons' women? No, we're talking about Noah and his sons. The women are going to be blessed because they're part of the man, right? Have you ever noticed that it never says multiply and be fruitful? It's the same thing that we're talking about when we're talking about loving Yehovah with all your heart and your soul. It's never soul and heart. It's always male and female, never female and male. And in this case, it's always fruitful comes before the multiply. Yehovah doesn't need you to multiply if you're not going to be fruitful, men. And he's talking to whom? He's talking to the men. Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. Well, I have a thing that I put together here, and I can only demonstrate it with this. I said fruitful always comes before multiply. Just like male comes before female, heart comes before soul. Be fruitful and multiply. This word fruitful is do what you were created to do. Then make more of the same. Make more of the things that you were created make more of the things that will do what they were created to do. You follow me? This is what Yehovah wants. We got a whole earth right now full of rebellious men and women who don't know what they were created to do. Fruitfulness is all about doing what you were created to do. The dog does what he was created to do. The pig does what he was created to do. But man and women, men and women, don't have a clue. We have deeply religious men and women who don't have a clue. Sincere men and women. But they are deceived. Practically the whole earth right now is deceived. Men, we think we're going to keep a few of Yehovah's commandments and still stay in the kingdom of men. And that's going to be okay with Yehovah. See, that's why I like Yasher so much. Canaan and Enoch and Methuselah and Noah all talking about turning the hearts of men back to Yehovah's statutes and judgments and ordinances. You can't keep two sets of statutes, judgments, and ordinances just the same way that you can't have two masters and a woman can't have more than one man. You can only serve one master. We are either a servant to Yehovah or we are a servant to men. I'm talking to men. Let's go back. So he said, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every, I'm sure that's every living thing of the earth. Did I put a note in there? No, I didn't. Every living thing of the earth. And now he's going to list them out. Every bird of the air and all that moves on the earth and on all fish of the sea, they are given into your hands. Whose hands are they given into? Your hands. Your hands in this case is who? Noah and his sons, the men. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs. You know what? We have people that will take a verse like this and tell you that they can eat whatever they want. Everything that moves on the earth shall be food for you. We can eat mosquitoes. We can eat pigs. We can eat crayfish. Is that what Yehovah is saying?
He says establish rules.
Again, we've got to understand it in the context of the whole. Do not take a verse, rip it out of the context of Torah. Okay, maybe you can use it in the context of this. But is Yehovah telling Noah that he can eat the unclean animals? You know what? Don't go there. You're going to build a theology based on one verse, and you've got nothing to support that theology. Even Noah understood. I said, don't build a doctrine based on a verse that contradicts all the other words of Yehovah. Noah knew the difference between tehor and tameh animals. He knew the difference. 7 of the clean animals, 7 of the tehor animals, and 2 of the tameh animals. He knew the difference. But you shall not eat flesh with its life. That is the blood. Surely for your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning. Whose lifeblood? Noah and his sons. Surely for your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning from the hand of every living thing. I will require it, and from the hand of the man. Every living thing and the hand of the man. I think it's interesting that he says every living thing in the hand of the man, Ha-Adam. From the hand of every man's brother. Now here he says, every Adam's brother, I will require the life of Adam. Well, this really got my mind thinking this week. Because it doesn't say in this case, surely for the lifeblood of every person. I mean, then you can make sure that you understand it as men and women. This says, Ha-Adam, your lifeblood, talking to Noah and his sons. From the hand of every man's brother. Ooh, do you remember when we were talking about well, let's go through this. We'll see this. I want you to see how it fits with Torah. So here is, look at this. Surely for your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning. From the hand of every living thing I will require it. And from the hand of, from the man, so here's the man, make this dark, Ha-Adam, from the hand of every man's Ish's brother. Every man's brother. So this wasn't Adam's brother. This was an Isha's brother. Okay, there's no lady Isha's either. There's no lady Aki's brother. These are all masculine terms. I require the man's soul. We put the man's blood. The man's life. I require the life of Ha-Adam. It's the soul. It's the nefesh. So that got me thinking. This is avenger of blood. That's the person that I was talking about. The man's brother. He's the avenger of blood. So this is coming from Numbers 35:19. Let me read it to you. For Israel's son They're talking about the Ezra men, Israel's seed, and for the Ger, and for the Toshab. So we've got three different kinds of men. Both of these men, the Ezra and the Ger, are part of Israel. The Toshab is somebody who is not Israel, but he's working with Israel. He knows Israel. He may be a day laborer, but he knows Israel. And because he knows Israel, he too can kill somebody by accident. This is all about killing people by accident. This is the chapter on cities of refuge. This particular chapter. So we have for Israel's seed, the Ezra, and the Ger, the Ger, and the Toshab. We're sometimes called the Ger, the stranger. The Toshab is the sojourner, is often called in here in the New King James. Among you, these 6 cities shall be refuge, that all who mortally kills, mortally strikes, here's the word they were using, strikes, nakah, to strike, but we're talking about a deadly strike, a person, unawares, may flee. But if he strikes him with an iron implement so that he dies, he's a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. If he strikes him with a stone in the hand, by which one could die, and he does die, he is a murderer. Okay, murderer. Okay, we got to understand murderer is rashak. The other word is kill, which is shakat. Shakat, kill, rashak. Thou shalt not rashak. We kill. Here, I wonder if this is the word right here. No, that's muth. Different word altogether. But it's the same thing. Shakak. Mut is kill. Death. He shall surely be put to death. If he strikes him with a stone in the hand by which one could die. And he does die. He is a rashak. The rashak shall surely be put to death. Muth. But if he strikes him with a wooden hand weapon by which he could die, and he does die, he is a rashak. The rashak shall surely be put to death. The blood, here's what I wanted you to see, the blood's revenger himself shall kill the murderer. This is the man's brother. This is long before the commandment given to us by Moses in Numbers. This is with Noah. Noah knew this. And I'm guessing so did Canaan, so did Enoch, so did Methuselah, because Yehovah doesn't change and his word endures forever. They've had an avenger of blood all along. The blood's revenger. There's the avenger of blood. I just said a different word for it. I like that. The blood's revenger. Revenger. Kills Moose, the rashak, the murderer. I better move this up. The blood's revenger himself shall moot, he shall moot the rashak. There's the rashak. When he meets him, he shall moot him, kill him. Well, so now, do we, if a woman is killed, also send the man after her or her brother after him? These are all things that we have to ask ourselves as we learn Torah. Because we are so ingrained in understanding things in the context of the doctrines and traditions of men. So we have to think out of the box. We have to challenge our thinking constantly. This says men. Ha-Adam, the man's brother. It doesn't say the man's sister or the sister's brother, the Isha's brother. No, this is the Ish's brother. So the Ish is the one that we're talking about, right? Yeah, it is. But now look at this. If an ox, no, let me slide it up for you. If an ox gores a man or a woman. So here we have, I don't know if this must be Ish and Isha, man or woman. Then the ox shall surely be stoned, and its flesh shall not be eaten. But the owner of the ox shall be acquitted. But if the ox tended to thrust with its horns in times past, it has been made known to the owner. Remember, the owner is always who? The man, the Ezra. He's the owner. And he has not kept it confined so that it has killed a man or a woman, an Ish, or his appendage, like we talked about last week. The ox shall be stoned, and its owner shall be put to death. Probably moot. Put to moot. Death. So there's an example of the woman's death being treated the same as the man's death. But here it says Ish and Isha. An Ish or an Isha. So now here's another question. Is it the same for a free man, an Ish or an Isha, as it would be for a male and a female slave? It says if a man beats his male or female slave with a rod, so that he dies under his hand, he shall surely be punished. That's what he says. Notwithstanding, if he remains alive a day or two. Now, this doesn't say he shall be put to death. This says he shall be punished. Notwithstanding, if he remains alive a day or two, he shall not be punished. What does he say? For he is his property. Now, in this case, it could be she is his property. The verb there is for man or woman. She is his property. He is his property. If he survives 2 or 3 days, no, a day or two, it says, not even 2 or 3, a day or two, he shall not be punished. So how does this all fit together? There's more. We've got more understanding, deeper understandings to gain. I don't have them all. I'm trying to build questions in your mind so that you can begin to start keeping an eye open for these kinds of things. I put, what if a man moots his wife? Kills his wife? Beats his wife? Well, in this day and age, you're going to jail. No doubt about it. Gary says she can kill you. Maybe in this day and age. And get away with it, yeah. No, but see, we're not talking about this day and age. Don't go there. Okay, we've got to get a new mindset. What does it say? Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may know what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of Yehovah. It's a New Testament verse. Paul said it, but he's right. We've got to renew our minds to Yehovah's good and acceptable and perfect ways. We don't get it. So here is a man who kills a man. The man's brother is going to come after him. We still don't know if a man kills a woman, if he's going to come after him. Question. Makes it very clear. In fact, in the next verse, we're going to see something more Don't go there and look yet. I want you to think about this first, okay? So then we saw the man's male or female servant. If he beats him so that he or she dies, he gets punished. Not killed, punished. She's his property. Even if she dies, even if he dies, makes it a day or two. But now I'm questioning, what about the man's wife? What if he beats his wife so that she dies? Well, you know what? She's him. She is his property. The 10th commandment makes that very clear. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's woman, his ox, his male servant, his female servant, or anything that is his neighbor's, is thy neighbor's. So she's property, but even more, she's him. Now, am I telling men it's okay to kill your woman? You know what? I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Can't do it. But sounds a bit Islamic, doesn't it? You know what? We're talking about Torah. Torah. How come it doesn't talk about a man's woman? Now, maybe if we kill a man's woman, we are killing a man. Did you ever think about that? But then wouldn't it be not his brother? Wouldn't it be him that would be going after the manslayer? But it doesn't talk about the woman. But now look what it says in the very next verse. Whoever sheds Ha-Adam's blood, okay, this is again, Ha-Adam's blood. We think man, it says man in the New King James, so we think man and woman, don't we? Okay, that's what we think. But listen to what it says. Whoever sheds Ha-Adam's blood by, here it is, we just saw it, Ish. No, this is by a man. His blood shall be shed. So this one is a man's brother, but this one is an Adam's brother, an Ish's brother. This is an Adam. By Adam, his blood shall be shed. But now listen what he says. Why? For in the image of Elohim, he made Ha-Adam. Well, there, right there, we're talking about it can't be a woman. The woman was not made in the image of Elohim, was she? Ha-Adam was made in the image of Elohim. So there's much deeper understandings that we have to strive for. I don't have full understanding. And if I do, I'm surprised by what I've found. There's a lot to learn. The role of a woman, the status of a woman in our society is not the same as the status of a woman in Israel, among Yehovah's Ezra and their Ger. It's dramatically different. Of course, we don't have male and female servants right now, but we can. It's the attitude of the servant, isn't it? For in the image of Elohim, he made Ha-Adam. This is all about the death of an Ha-Adam for your lifeblood. Not your woman's lifeblood, for your lifeblood. Now, a woman who kills a man, a woman, an Isha, who kills, or an appendage who kills a man. Appendage, remember, I use that word because I want you to see how important it is that you have a man in your life, ladies. And what your role is to that man. As an appendage, you do what he asks you to do, don't you? Bone of my bones, your desire shall be for your man, and he shall rule over you. He goes on. And as for you, be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply on it. So there he is. Bring forth abundantly. Bring forth abundantly. Could that be the idea of being fruitful and multiplying it? Isn't he just simply repeating himself again? Fruitful means to bring forth abundantly, like the tree did. The tree, the cherry tree, brought forth abundantly. Lots of fruit. What is the fruit that we're supposed to bring forth abundantly as a man? And what is the fruit that we're supposed to bring forth abundantly as a woman? As an appendage, an Isha. Well, that's worth discovering. It's going to make the difference between life and death. Talking about who this person is. So now he's switching gears and he's saying, be fruitful, multiply. So being fruitful, bringing forth abundantly, and multiplying. Got to bring forth abundantly first. You know, this is why we want to become the Ezra men. That's the fruitful. And then, remember, it's the Ezra men who give birth to Ezra men. It's not Ezra women who give birth to Ezra men. It's Ezra men who give birth to Ezra men. We, Ezra men, teach our sons the way that we should go. And then at Passover, they become the Ezra men. Carrie says it's a mentoring program. But, you know, I'm teaching every week how men can become Ezra men. Be fruitful. Learn to be fruitful and then multiply. Verse 8. And Elohim spoke to Noah and his sons and with him, saying, so here he is, Noah and his sons. As for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you. Who's he speaking to? Noah and his sons. And as for me, I'm going to move this up. And as for me, I establish my covenant with you and your descendants after you. This is speaking to Noah and his sons, saying he establishes his covenant with who? With you. Who's he talking to? Noah and his sons, and with who's your? Noah and his sons, your descendants. This descendants is the word zerah, seed. Your seed after you. He's not talking about ladies. Talking about sons, men, seed that come after them. He's establishing his covenant with men. But here now he's saying, and with every living creature that's with you. This is a different kind of covenant, isn't it? The birds, every living creature that's with you. So there's the big picture. Creature, what is the creature that they use here? Nefesh, every living nefesh that's with you. Living thing, living creature. Kayi, there's that word kayi again. Where are the ladies? But they can be in two places. And with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the behemah, and every creeping of the earth with you, all that goes out of the ark, every living thing of the earth. Man, you got to learn how to read this. This word beast, I don't know why they decided to make beast cattle. It's not about cattle. Cattle's only a cow. No, we're talking about something much bigger than cattle. And it throws off everything in the New King James. So I said, where are the ladies? They can be one of two places. They can be part of the Kayi, the living things, or they can be part of their man. Only two places they can be, because they're not mentioned at all, are they? Well, we see this. Married women, women who are taken are not mentioned in Torah. They're just not there. Thus I will establish my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. You know, every time I read this verse, I got to tell you, I feel like Yehovah has his fingers crossed. Because he says, never again will I bring flood on the earth. But what's he going to bring the next time? What can we expect in these last days that Yehovah is going to bring on the earth that is finally going to destroy everything? It's going to be fire. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah. That's how it's going to be in the end. We're talking probably talent size, 75 pounders of, what do we call those things, the brimstone. Here, I got a brimstone. Here's my brimstone. This came from Sodom. There it is right there. Can you see that? That's a piece of brimstone from Sodom. Imagine something like that, 75 pounders. This is something that if you light this sucker, put it down on a piece of metal, it's going to go through the metal. So imagine one coming out of an apartment building and just going from floor to floor to floor to floor to floor to floor to floor. 75 pounder burning right on through that whole building. Yeah, and the toxic fumes that comes from it. Oh my gosh, that's killer in itself. Well, this is what we're going to expect in the last days. He's not going to send a flood. Well, it would be hard to send a flood. We don't have the waters above the earth anymore, do we? But what's he going to do? He's going to send fire. I think we're going to see volcanoes erupting also. So I put, this next time will be by fire, just like Sodom and Gomorrah. Listen what it says. This is Isaiah 1:9. Unless Yehovah of hosts had left us a very small remnant, we would have become like Sodom. We would have been made like Gomorrah. But this is coming, and this is a certainty that's going to come to us. Let me read this. This is Zephaniah 3:7-9. I said, surely thou wilt fear me. Thou wilt receive instructions, and thy dwelling shall not be cut off, despite everything for which I punish thee. Okay, remember, the righteous are going to remain on the earth, and it's the wicked who are going to be destroyed from it, isn't it? So here he's talking about righteous men who were unrighteous, but they're now going to be kept safe. But now look what he says. But they rose up, but maybe these are people that are turning, but they rose early and corrupted their deeds. Therefore wait for me, says Yehovah, until the day I rise up for plunder. My determination is to gather the Gentiles to my assembled dominion, to pour on them my indignation, all my fierce anger. All the earth shall be devoured with fire, with the fire of my jealousy. For then I will restore to the peoples a pure language, that they may call on the name of who? Yeshua? No, Yehovah, to serve him with one accord. Who's he talking to, men or women? He's talking to men. Ladies, don't serve Yehovah. They serve their man. All the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Let's continue. And Elohim said, this is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I thought that, that's an interesting word, perpetual generations. Here's the word. It's for generations forever. Dor, revolution, generations, and the other word is olam, forever. I thought, perpetual generations. I've seen that before. And I went looking, because here's a rainbow. He's talking about the rainbow. This is the sign of the covenant. This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you. I set a rainbow in the clouds. That's the next verse. So, do we still have a rainbow? Why? Because it's a perpetual covenant. Okay, but now, Dor Olam. Look at what it says in Exodus 12 about the Passover, about keeping a feast to Yehovah, following his instructions. We're talking about men, Ger, and Ezra, renewing their covenant every year with Yehovah to become an Ezra or to stay in Ezra, to stay in Israel and renew their covenant with Yehovah, their berith with Yehovah. So this day shall be to you a memorial, and you shall keep it as a feast to Yehovah throughout your generations. There's the door. Okay? You're for your generations. Here's the door. Right here. Door. Door. All thy generations. He's talking to all the men. By ordinance, how long? Olam. Forever. So here we have Dor Olam once again. Okay, so here is a rainbow. Do we still have rainbows? Yes, we still have rainbows. Do we still have an ordinance forever? Exodus 12, the slaughtered Passover. Yes, it's an ordinance forever. 4 times in this chapter, he talks about these kinds of things throughout your generations, an everlasting ordinance. Are we done with it? Did Yeshua somehow change Yehovah's eternal and unchanging ways? This is what we've been taught. But we're talking about perpetual generations, aren't we? Dor Olam. Well, that's a hiatus. Something that caught my attention with perpetual generations. I know that word. I've seen things like that throughout the scriptures. How long is that? Well, the rainbow is still here. I set my rainbow in the clouds, and it shall be a sign of the berith between me and the earth. So we have a sign of the berith between me and the earth, and we have a sign of the berith between Yehovah and his Ezra men. That's what Passover is all about. That's what the time of life is all about. That's what the dead becoming life at the time of life is all about. Exodus 12. And it shall be, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, my berith, between me and you, Noah and his sons, and every living creature of all flesh. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. You know what? Perhaps when we see this rainbow, what we're supposed to think is, obviously, he's not going to bring the water again, but maybe it's to remember that there's fire coming. What's he going to bring next time? Maybe when we see this rainbow, we think, oh my goodness, I've got to remember to become fruitful. I've got to remember to become the man or the woman that Yehovah expects me to be. So that when this next devastation of the earth comes, I'm prepared. Just the thought. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look on it to remember the everlasting covenant between Elohim and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. And Elohim said to Moses, this is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. Now, Noah's sons. See, this says the sons of Noah. This is Noah's seed. Now, Noah's seed went out of the ark. Shem, Ham, Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. Couple interesting things here. This is Noah's seed that went out of the ark. They call it the sons of Noah. Okay, no definite article. It's not talking about sons. It says Noah's seed went out of the ark. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They got it in the wrong order again. Remember, who's the oldest? Japheth is the oldest, then Shem, then Ham. But yet Shem is first. Now they say, and Ham was the father of Canaan. Where did that come from? Why is that important? Well, it's important because we're going to talk about this next story. But I think we've got things that are incorrect here. Let's talk about this. These three were Noah's seed. Noah's seed. This is not sons again. These three were Noah's seed. Remember, it's all about Yehovah raising up seed on the earth. Remember what it said in Yasher? Noah wasn't going to have sons, wasn't going to get married, wasn't going to have children. Why? Because he didn't want them to die in the flood. He knew it was coming. Look what it says in Yasher. And Noah was a holy, just man in his generation. And Yehovah chose him to raise up seed from his seed upon the face of the earth. Why would you want the seed of Noah? Well, he just told you. He's a holy, just man. He's fruitful. I want fruitful men to raise up new fruit on the earth. The old fruit's not cutting it. It's about seed, about teaching our sons and our sons' sons the statutes and the judgments and the ordinances. It's in there. Go to Deuteronomy 6. You'll see it. Your sons and your sons' sons. Down below, in the Shema, we read children, but it's sons. It's supposed to be sons. We just read children because we've got a perverted thinking. So now we've got daughters learning the way of Yehovah, statutes, judgments, and ordinances. No, the men are supposed to learn that. The men follow Yehovah. The daughters follow their man, their father, and then their husbands. Maybe if they don't get married, their father and then their brothers, or their father and then their uncle, or their father and then their cousins. But they're always following a man. Now, these three were Noah's seed. And from these, the whole earth was populated. Was it populated from the women? No, it was populated from the seed of the seed. And Yehovah chose him to raise up seed from his seed upon the face of the earth. This is exactly what's going on. Translating seed and understanding them as men and calling them children instead perverts our understandings and leads us in a way that we should never go. Noah began to be a farmer and he planted a vineyard. Well, that sounds like he got off to a good start. But look at the next verse. Then he drank of the wine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. Uncovered. What are we talking about? Uncovered. We tend to make this all about nakedness. Galal is the word that we're talking about. Denude, to denude, especially in a disgraceful sense. Okay, that's not necessarily mean, well, the next verse it says stripped, divested of covering, laid bare. I think it's got a deeper understanding than that. Here's I believe this is Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible. It says, as a lifting off of a cover, to be exposed from the removal of clothing, also to reveal something by exposing it. To uncover the nakedness of is a euphemism. Let me put this up. To uncover the nakedness of is a euphemism, a nice way to say something bad. Euphemism. Instead of saying he died, he went to be with Yehovah. Or, there's different ways that we say things so that it's nicer. Okay, so instead of raping our mother, we would say uncovered our father's nakedness. Instead of raping our father, we would say uncovering our father's nakedness. It could go both ways. In this case, it implies some kind of sexual relations are going on. Now, did Ham take his mother? Or did Ham take his father? Is it about seeing a man seeing another man's privates? Come on, don't be silly. Okay, there's something more to this. Ham had sex with his father or with his mother. Ham. Remember, in Yasher, Ham is not even mentioned until after they get out of the ark. Remember, it was Japheth and Shem who learned from Methuselah and Noah the ways of the Creator. Ham didn't learn them. Ham didn't know them. Ham was on the ark because Noah walked with Elohim. Yeah, Carrie says he was at the right place at the right time. He was the right person at the right time. But was he an angry man? Was he vindictive? Did he take an opportunity to mess with his father because he was an angry man? I wonder. Something is going on here. Something so serious that it's going to curse all of Ham's seed. We're going to see it right now. He became uncovered in his tent, and Ham, the father of Canaan. So here we have the father of Canaan. He's saying it again. Isn't this exactly what it just said up here? Father of Canaan? Yeah. Oh, is it 107 already? Oh my goodness. Okay, folks, I have to stop right here. We're going to talk about Ham next week. I got lots to say about Ham. I didn't realize it was so late. Carrie just whispered to me, 107. I apologize for going so long.
Marathon here.
Yeah, we're going for a marathon. Let's stop here. Hey, thank you for joining me today. If you're listening online, bless your heart. I so appreciate you coming. I'll continue this next week, okay? Please come back. I have a wealth of information to give you, things that you've never heard before, but I can prove everything I say in the Torah. Please come back. Join me. If you are listening online, please make an account here on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. That way you can get it every week. Ooh, the things that we are going to learn over the next 3 years, really plus, are going to be amazing. But they only come line by line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. We got to see them in the context in which they're written. So please subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next week. Yehovah bless you real good. Love you tons. Bye now.